The film in which you are about to see is an account of the disaster in which befell an exhausted spelunker. In 1965, Jim Cowling and two of his friends wanted to have some fun to get away from the stressful life of going to college. But instead of going to the beach or a far-off place like most other college students, they decided to have the bright idea of traversing the very difficult cave system known as Neff Cave. Located only 11 minutes from Salt Lake City, Neff Cave is a very dangerous cave. Though being that this was 1965 and the cave itself had only been discovered 20 years prior, there wasn't much knowledge to exactly how dangerous this cave actually was. And only the most experienced spelunkers should ever try to have traversed it. And that is because unlike most caves on this channel that are filled with glorious galleries that usually get our spelunkers lost, in Neff Caves there are no spectacular draperies, stalactites, stalagmites, popcorn formations, or anything else that makes it spectacular, or a popular tourist attraction for that matter. And on top of that, it's also icy and cold, with constantly dripping walls and ceilings with slimy floors that have a weird water and mud mix. Sounds like the perfect getaway from the stresses of college life, doesn't it? Neff Cave at one point was even considered to be the US's deepest cave. This was, although a very long time ago, as nowadays it's ranked about number 15th in the nation. Though, since many at the time did think that this was the deepest cave, many tried to map it and traverse it. Or like Jim Cowling and his friends, wanted to see how fast they could get to the bottom and back up top again, just for the fun of the sport. So during the Memorial Day weekend break, Jim and his friends would begin their trip to the cave system. This wasn't their first exploration of a cave system though. It was most likely their first encounter with this advance of a system, though having a little common sense, they knew what they were most likely in for and brought all the right equipment that they would need. The three began their descent as soon as possible, and the descent down was a lot easier than they were expecting, so they were actually enjoying themselves, taking in what little sights there were to be had, and were even taking pictures when they could. Though as anyone who's ever explored in a system that requires climbing rope will tell you, the descent is always easier than the trek back to the entrance up top. So when they decided to turn back midway, mainly due to the fact that only half of the cave was actually mapped at this time, his two friends would start climbing in the front, while Cowling was climbing near the back. He would suddenly and out of nowhere receive one of the most massive flows of lactic acid of his life inside of his arms, resulting in immediate exhaustion near the top of the sheer ledge. He would then let out a cry to let his friends know that he was in trouble. Unfortunately, they were already pretty ahead of him by this time, and because of the slipperiness of the cave walls, Cowling would have to wait 8 hours dangling before his friends could actually work their way down to help him. And because they knew that they would have to maneuver him through some rather restricting passageways in order to get him all the way out of the cave, they would decide to lower him to another ledge. That way he would at least be able to rest while they went back into town to get some help. When the police found out, they were able to assemble about 40 Salt Lake County deputy sheriffs and some of the best local cave explorers as fast as they could, as they all knew that he could easily die from hypothermia if left in the dark, dank cave system for too long. And because the cave is located on the north side of Mount Olympus, the team decided to set up base camp at the bottom of the mountain and used four-wheel vehicles to get rescuers as close to the cave as possible. Among one of the rescuers, they decided to bring a physician along in order to administer a tranquilizer in order to maneuver Cowling through the narrow passageways, which were also lined with sharp, jagged rocks. Unfortunately though, since many of the rescue team had never been in the cave system, they were fully unprepared for the trip, and the constant dripping of water in 40-degree darkness made it a miserable, muddy challenge, taking them several hours to even descend down to Cowling. When the team made it about 600 feet, or 182 meters, they were finally able to reach Cowling, who at this point was lying unconscious and in critical condition from the elements. Luckily though, his friends left him in a sleeping bag, which the rescuers decided to keep him in, making it easier to carry him back up to the top. He would then be rushed to the local hospital. Altogether, Jim Cowling would spend 36 hours in total underground, mostly by himself in the dark. A few days later, a Desert News staff writer would find Cowling to get his take on the situation. Cowling would then answer, "It isn't a sightseeing cave. It's the kind of cave you want to go and see if you can make it all the way to the bottom and come back out again." As he would finish by saying that he was far from done from spelunking and couldn't wait to get back out there. The Neff Cave system was later closed to the public by the United States Forest Service, and later in 1977 was made into a national natural landmark. Let me know in the comments what you would have done if you were in Jim Cowling's position, and all of a sudden found yourself with total muscle failure at the bottom of a very deep cave. And once again, thank you for watching. Remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and turn on the notification bell for more content in the future. Goodbye for now.